Hey guys, KCTCG here with the long-awaited Zorga updated deck list for Festival Collection. So, in our ride deck, we are gonna go ahead and change up the ride deck to have the new Grave Zorga as your grade 3. We no longer play regular spiritual Zorga. So, starting off with, of course, the grade 3s, we have the Persona rides. And we still are keeping dragons. So there's nothing that changed too much, honestly. There will be a how to play this deck video soon after, but we're just gonna do it. We're just gonna do a deck list today. So of course, like I said, Persona Ride as well as your new the dragons. And for grade twos, we have one of the newer additions to the deck. We are now running Clipping Dragons, as well as upping the Shadow Cloak count to 4. You want to see the Shadow Cloaks now more than ever, because New Zorga doesn't need you to have orders in hand, he just needs you to have them in drop zone. And Clipping is now there to facilitate your soul charge. Some people have mentioned to, I don't know her name, but I know it's the grade 2 that on play, if you don't have a soul charge 2. I'm just not a fan of empty soul charging. If you feel that that has more of a value than running clipping, by all means. I mean, this is just a deck list. It's not the all-win deck build for Zorga. It works for me though. So in your grade 1 slots, nothing changed. We are still running the 4 headhunters, double bell, and 4 PGs. And now we go to your orders. So, first things first that people might realize. We are running 8 orders and they are all unique. So, what I like about the new Zorga is that you have flexibility to play pretty much whatever order you want for the turn. There are some limitations like these 3. Um, these 2 require an extra soul, so if you're not prepared, you can't pay these. And this just requires a second order in hand, so if you weren't able to grab a second order, it's just unable to be played. However, the goal of this deck, or the way this deck plays out now, is that you don't need to always do certain plays. Like, for example, if you want to Clouded Miasma every single turn, you can now. And with the help of Bell, you can always just reset whatever you added. And it allows for a more fluid gameplay, as well as, since I'm only running one of, you are able to run more unique tech cards. And of course, lastly, you have your triggers. Nothing here changed. We are still running OT with 3 crit, 3 draw, 4 crit, 4 heal. So it's not clear. So there you have it, guys. This is my updated Zorga list for Festival Collection. Uh, keep in keep in mind, I will be doing a separate video later for the how-to. I'm actually gonna be going over the a basic how-to for the Zorga deck. So, honestly, when you're playing Zorga, it is all about how you set up your turns preemptively, how your orders are being played, and pretty much if you're when you're reading game state, what should you do, what can you do, and what do you think your opponent can and can't do. Like it all needs to be calculated, honestly. So if you feel that your opponent can't guard for the turn, or you feel that they're lacking certain shield in hand, one of your go-tos should always be Clouded Miasma. Um, if you feel that your opponent, Or if you feel that you need more cards in hand, you would need to set up for um, Wandering Souls. And if you just don't have enough hand and your opponent's gonna try to blow you out of the water, and you want to try to recuperate some hand, Malice, Soul, one of these two plus the Black Magic. So these are just small, basic uh, how-to, so to speak. But let's go into more in depth of how you're supposed to actually get these orders off, because right here, these are Soul Blast orders. This order here needs another order in hand. This is a Blitz order, that's a Soul Blast, as well as this binds whatever you played as well, or if this is the one in hand, it just goes away, so you don't have extra Alchemagic targets. So just to clarify this card, because you guys have seen me play it on the channel multiple times, Bell mitigates everything this order would do. All Bell does is return every bound card in your bind zone back to your drop zone. So it just allows you to recycle your orders. And in the case where both the bells are gone, you want to bring them back. Well, here's your targets for bringing Bell back. Now, people have also asked, or yeah, honestly, they have asked, um, how do you play this? Because the deck lacks soul. The deck never really had a good soul charge engine. So my answer is honestly running the Clipping Dragons. The Clipping Dragons themselves, I can use them as attackers. 15k from Zorga, 20k from Miasma. I can use them as just put them simply in the back row. They proc regardless whether or not they attacked. All they care is if you Alchemagic or not. And realistically speaking, like Zorga hits 33 Persona Ride, 5k, 5k from himself, and then 13 base, so 20k power up, so 33. He hits a good magic number already, where a front trigger just makes a push. Anything more becomes like a 2 to pass, or even just no pass, which it's all you want to hear, honestly. But the deck itself doesn't need Zorga, the main center column, to be huge. He just is there to honestly be a threat to finish a game if your opponent's a 4 damage with the threat of a critical, triple drive, you know. But realistically, he's there to give your power ups to your rears to make them bigger. So your Zorga center column never needs to be big. And some people have also said, well, what happens if you play against Prison? Yes, you are right. Prison does screw over Zorga, because if I prepared beforehand with clippings and they say, oh, tell your clippings to go away. Well, good thing, you know, if you are truly going to try to play this deck out, you are going to want to keep your Persona Rise in hand. This is the only matchup that I will be holding Persona Rides for the following turn so that I can activate his effect. Now, that's the issue of running these though, because if I'm running the situation, these become dead orders to me. I cannot Soul Blast extra for the turn. I can't have extra nicety, so to speak. Now, if I know that they can't Seraph, or they didn't Seraph me last turn and I have a Clipping and Soul, by all means, these are free. If I have a Persona Ride, I can just go off. Now, I have seen some of your comments. Some of you are honestly on the train of Miasma, and I'll be honest, I've never been a fan of running more orders that strictly give power, because Miasma is literally just the old GDR, and when you look at it from Zorga's point of view, because Zorga gives 5, Miasma gives 5, so 10k front row, Miasma gave 10k. So, realistically speaking, just know that I only use this order because, one, it populates field. It gives you an extra unit on board. Yes, the 10k is nice because it's a pseudo Persona Ride, but all in all, it's because, one, it's a different name. 2, it populates, and 3, it's inexpensive. It's 1 counterblast. So here, sometimes I see people when dog is being played, they don't know what order to mill. So here is a simple, honestly, a simple go-to. If you have, and here I hope my editor does edit in the card so you can see like a flowchart, so to speak. If you have a natural death in your hand, with at least 1 dog, honestly, depending on your own hand state, if you have a second order in hand, this is your go-to mill. If you don't have a second order in hand, this is your mill. Now, in the case that you are getting rushed, you went first, you didn't draw triggers, and you don't want to lose your pieces early, and you're pushing 3 damage, this is your go-to mill, just because you have the counter boss for it. Now, if you have 2 dogs with the death, then you go ahead and just mill this. These are your always guaranteed go-tos. And the turn that you mill, you go ahead and activate death to get these back to your hand so that you have this play next turn. Now, you can go and be more greedy with more dogs, but push comes to shove. Honestly, the deck will be playable on 1 dog or at its best or most optimal without blowing too many resources with 2. So let's go a little bit into how your opponent, how to play against an opponent, so to speak. So, like I said, in situations here, let's say you are going first, or you went first, so your first turn is grade 3. So if I'm the first grade 3 on the board, I like to be more prepared as well as aggressive, which means on my aggression turn, I try to do this. This requires an extra order in hand. However, what this does is it sets your opponent to the pace of you have 10 kids to your board, and my attackers are going to be at smallest 23, or if it's Bell 17, and you can just push hard for damage. Now, if I'm going second, I honestly would need to see what my opponent did, because let's say they swarmed the board. Well, the turn before that, if they're swarming the board, well, regurgitation is your best friend. If they, sorry, not just swarm board, but let's say they played a big target. I don't know what some of you are afraid of, but for me, it's honestly just big shield bodies or big hitting bodies. So if your opponent is playing Dragon Empire, play the grade 1 to accelerate their game state to grade 4 immediately, know that your opponent doesn't have that much counterblast, and they have Esperidea up there, well, guess what? That thing's dying. And let's say that your opponent has, I want to say, no units. Well, they are a Vanguard heavy deck, let's say Barrow Magnus. Well, first and foremost, thank you for playing Barrow Magnus into New Zorga, because now I have Infinite Soul. I can play any order I want without any issue. The second thing is, because you're now playing against Barrow Magnus, they are an early weak deck. If you're pushing them early and they need to use hand to guard, or if you push them early enough they go to 5 damage, well, honestly, it's either here or it is here, depending on how your setup turns were. Now, some of you have asked, how do you play against Bastion? Well, Bastion is, I honestly put it the same thing as Barrow, where if I aggress early, they either lose hand or go take damage early. And I've always been slapped with the comment or response, oh, but what if they top check Alden? Well, congratulations, they hit the same, they hit Alden just like they would have hit a heal or an OT. I just bite the bullet and play along. There's no point in being scared of the possibility of Alden coming out grid turn 2 for Bastion when your own game state is trash because you didn't want to push your opponent to 2 or 3 or 4. Because let's be real, if they actually get pushed 3, 4, or 5, what does it matter if they have Alden out? Oh, but they drew an extra 2 cards. Congratulations, I really hope they drew triggers, because if they didn't draw triggers, guess what? It doesn't matter what they drew because you're still pushing their cards in, because all you're doing is just swinging more and more and more. Now, let's say that uh, a lot of you have seen me do this already. If your dragons are out, always try to do malice. If you can't malice, then just go ahead, call over your dragons. And realistically, if you're gonna try to look at the orders I play and try to think like, oh, that's not enough orders, I'm gonna lose my tempo. Well, realistically speaking, the fact that this combination itself draws you or nets you 3 more cards, or technically it's 4 because oh no, it is 3 cards. You drew a card, you ditched a card, and then you're getting 5 off this combination. However, because this is an extra cost, it's 4 cards. Now, the math is weird, but just know that no matter what combination you're doing, you're trying to plus or tempo the game state. Zorga is, or at least I like to classify Zorga as a mid-range deck, early mid-range maybe, but Zorga in late game is very, very stressful to play, because there's going to be a lot of games, and I'm pretty sure you guys have seen me do this already or get to the state, where I have like 5, 4, 3, 6 cards in deck. I can't just, do this or do this or do this. I'm very limited to just these orders. And my opponent, usually at the state of the game, is also a low count on cards. But the point of the matter is, because of the cards, the limitation of how many cards I have, I need to see if I want a Persona ride. I want to see what orders I can play. Because let's be real, right? Malice is my easiest way to get rid of dragons, but on the downside, it makes me draw an extra card. What if I don't want to draw?